and the floor is yours.
Cool. Hi, everyone. Good morning. My colleague Wanjiru will be with us soon. She was having a power failure. I'm sure people in this group would be sympathetic to that issue. We experience it quite often here in Kenya today. Really, really nice to meet you in person. I know that the trend at Hill is always to keep the cameras off, but if you want to just turn it on for a second so I can see your face and wave at you. So I get a little bit more, hey, there we go. Quick response. Hi, everyone. Cool. Nice to meet you. I'm really looking forward to get to know you all over the next 2 weeks. And hopefully we can help you to create a stronger brand for the amazing stuff that you guys are building. So if you want to at any point ask a question or chat about something, like follow up on something, feel free to just do that in the chat or turn on your microphone. I'm very happy to make this a super informal session. And I think the conversation is really where a lot of the learning happens. And I love to see your faces. So if bandwidth allows, feel free to keep your camera on. So what are we going to do together over the next 2 weeks? So I'm just going to share, our presentation. Here we go. Okay. Yes. Let me start with who you guys are speaking to today. Speaking with. So my name is Anna Miltenburg. I'm a brand developer. I'm originally from the Netherlands. Actually, I used to live for a number of years in The Hague, where Hill is based. I moved to Kenya about 7 years ago, and my colleague Wanjiru will be joining us soon. She is also in Kenya, and together we run training sessions. So after working at agencies like Studio Dunbar and Interbrand for many years as a strategist and creative director, I decided to put my expertise to work where I thought it was most needed, which is in the kind of social impact space, where I really saw a need to help people strengthen the brand and get as many people on board with their products and services as possible. So what we will dive into today is, over the next 2 weeks, is strategy. So brand strategy, I think, is a notoriously complex issue, and we're going to try and make it a little bit more simple for you guys. And then we're going to talk about body. So how do you give shape to your brand in a way that helps you to achieve the impact that you want to see? And we're going to talk about implementation. So how do you actually test some of the elements that you're developing and how can you implement it? And we're very happy, we're very responsive to just like, what are you looking to learn? So if there's at any point during this session or the session in 2 weeks that you feel like, hey, can we dive into that a little bit more? I'm happy to do that if we have the time for it. So just reach out to me or reach out to Wanjiru and Nadine, and we'll try and put it on the agenda. So the overall course content, if everything went well, fingers crossed, you guys managed to watch the introduction lecture and the case study of Farewell. We delivered that as a pre-recording because I tend to really enjoy live sessions that are actually interactive. Now that we have the time together, I want to work with you. I want to hear your stories. I want to see what we can do together. And that's why we always deliver these lectures pre-recorded, so that you have to spend as little possible time with me live listening to what I say, and we can actually benefit from the interaction. So that means that for the live session today, we want to have a group discussion about the Farewell case, which was the case that Wanjiru analyzed and put together for you in a case study. And then we want to work on an exercise to create your own back of the napkin brand strategy. And we want to set you up for success with homework assignments. And then in the second session, we're going to discuss the brand thinking canvas, which will be your homework assignment for the next 2 weeks. And we'll discuss the testing of the brand and the strategy with your audiences. So for today, what we're going to do is we're going to start with a little warming up so I get to know you a bit better. We're going to discuss the Faribault case study. We're going to do the group exercise. We're going to have a little bio break in about an hour and a half. And then I'm going to prep you on the homework assignments. We're going to have some questions at the end. Any questions so far? As I said before, feel free to put it in chat, and if I don't see it, Nadine will let me know, and Jill will let me know. Cool. So let's get to know each other a little better. So I wanted to do a brand-related warm-up with all of you. So I want you to just take 30 seconds and think about, if you were a car brand, which brand would you be and why? And I'm gonna call on one of you to get this conversation going, and then after you've shared with us why you think what car brand you are and why, I'd love for you to call on the next person from the group, maybe someone you haven't spoken to yet, so that we all get to know each other a little better. What is what car brand would you be and why? Let me see. Let me ask Eric Morithi. Hi, Eric. If you were a car brand, which car brand would you be?
Definitely the Tesla.
Ah. Okay. Why are you a Tesla? Tell us more.
Okay, a number of reasons. First, of course, it looks nice. Second, I know it applies clean technology, so I like conservation of environment. So for that reason, I would take Tesla. I believe it's definitely more efficient and faster. Will get me where I want to get much faster. Yeah, the experience basically, I believe, is I've not been in one. I've been in Kenya, and there are not so many around here.
Yeah,
I believe the experience is should be great. Yeah, those are some of the reasons I would think of.
Cool. Who do you want to hear from next, Eric? Otherwise, I'll call on Veronique.
That's so odd. I had a feeling you're going to call upon me. But yeah, I would go with the VW, the Beetle. VW in my city. Well, it's not actually in our municipality. There's a VW factory, and I've driven VW before. And yeah, when I think about VW, I think about reliability. Think about the fact that it employs so many people in my city, and I don't know. I just think about the fact that they've sort of grown this brand that is with you. I don't know how better loyalty that they show towards employees, but also towards their customers is really sort of endearing to me, and it's something that I like to attach myself to brands in a way that if I get a good experience out of it, if I think about the cars that I've driven and the fact, sort of the experiences that I've gone through with, like a Golf, for example. I don't know if you've driven a Golf before, but just the ruggedness of it. And I think a Beetle as well, the ruggedness and the fact that it just never dies. It just continues. Like in my city, a lot of people still drive Golfs, even though it's not as, I suppose, environmentally friendly and all of that, but just for the mere fact that it doesn't die, it can still continue for multiple sort of decades and so forth. I think I would go with VW, but maybe I'm a bit biased.
I think biases are actually a really important aspect of brand and brand association. So the more biases you have, the richer the kind of all the connections in your brain with a particular brand. Is there anyone who has like a totally different, like no Tesla, no BMW, I am a?
Yes. Hello, I'm from Ukraine, legal design, and I guess we associated yourself with the Jeep. Why? At first, it's a title. Jeep is a title of a niche in the car, yeah, and the legal design is also a similar way. And also, the Jeep is a great car for direction from point A to point B, and our decision is we proceed our service for easy tools. So something like that.
Cool. Nice to hear that. That Jeep is big where you are, Oleg. Nice to meet you too. Let's see. Gugu.
Hi.
Hi.
My favorite car brand is the Toyota, especially the Toyota Corolla. It's reliable. It's cheap to maintain. It's durable. It lasts for years and years. And also the parts are available international, well, not internationally. I'm in Africa, in most countries in Africa. So for me, what's important with the car is just being able to maintain it, and it must be cheap. It must be able to do its purpose, which is take you from point A to B. And should it have a breakdown, I should be able to find parts anywhere and not have to wait for a certain length of time. So the Toyota for me works.
Cool. I agree on the availability of parts. That definitely is a big driver of choice, I think. Cool. Let's see. David. If you were a car brand, what car brand would you be?
Hi, I would be a Mercedes. Yes, it's a classy and very heavy duty.
Yeah. Do you consider yourself classy and heavy duty?
Yes.
Excellent. Excellent. That's what I like to hear. Cool. Let's see. Zukov. If you want to turn your microphone on. Maybe Zukov is out for a coffee. Let's see. In the meantime, Amer. Amer is not available either. Let's look at who else we have. Lillian. Lillian, are you with us? Do you have can you turn your mic on?
Did you say William or Lillian?
I say Lillian, but William, you're very welcome to jump into the conversation, and then
okay,
we'll go back to Lillian.
I honestly don't know what car brand fits perfectly, but I can just talk about, you know, the ones that I like, or at least the one that I like the most.
Okay.
So, yeah. So, I mean, everybody in tech would want to, I mean, instinctively, I almost align myself with Tesla because it's cutting edge, you know, and that's what we're trying to do. But it's an electric car, and I'm not a big fan. I'm a petrol head. So anyway, for now, I like the Range Rover. I like Land Rover, the LR4, because it's rugged, it's durable. I mean, you can go anywhere with it. So yeah, so that's the car brand that would be.
Cool. There's something about the Land Rover that just keeps on powering on, huh? That's a brand with a history.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks for sharing. Lillian, I saw that you managed to turn your microphone on as well. Otherwise, we'll go to Adam Oxford. Or Usema.
Hello. Am I audible?
Hi, there we go.
Okay. So going back to the pictures of the Tesla and the Beetle, I would like to say I'm kind of like a mix of both. Like I love how the Tesla is eco-friendly and all of that, and it's good looking and it gets useful. But also I'm the kind of person that likes the fundamentals, like and I'm also fond of classic cars. So I know it's not that easy, but I would like the end of both worlds, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. And as this is a fictional
Like it.
exercise, I think you're very welcome to just put together the car brand of your dreams.
Yeah.
Cool. In the meantime, Adam is sharing in
Exactly,
the
yeah.
chat as well that he's a Land Rover person. So we have a couple of Land Rover fans here. If I haven't called on you yet, and if you're having connection issues, just also feel free to add in the chat. In the meantime, my colleague Wanjiru has joined. Hi, Wanjiru. Welcome.
Hi, glad to join just in time.
Yeah, no problem. Cool. So let me see if I who is aching to share their brand. Chris from Vindex.
Yes, hi. I would consider myself a Toyota Probox. It's a simple car that's very versatile. There's an urban legend here in Kenya, but it's the car for any type of business. It will help you do it and achieve it. But of course, my personal brand will be a Volvo for its safety. And yeah, but personality, I would consider myself the Probox, but the dream car is the Volvo.
You have to sit very straight in a Pro Box, I find, because it doesn't allow for lounging.
No, luxury.
It
Just
does justice to the name of the box.
Yeah.
Cool. Nice to meet you, Chris. Great. Yeah, so what I always love about this exercise is that it puts us in that brand state of mind, and it allows you to think like, oh, okay, well, if I was a brand, what would I be? But you also have to dive into like the archive of your brain, like what are the brands that I know and what do they stand for and how does that relate to myself? And this is really the process of that brands, why brands are so important. Is because they directly connect people to that archive in their brain, and brands build positive associations. And because they build those positive associations, people recognize you, they hopefully love you, and they stay loyal to you over time. And that's obviously really important for the journey that all of you are on. So what we prepared for today is an example of a case study. So we really believe that we can learn a lot from examples. And Farewell was a case that was very helpful in previous Hill cohorts. I hope that you found it helpful as well. It's a brand from the UK. We usually like to use examples from the African continent as well. But in this case, Farewell is a really interesting match, I think, in terms of topic. So if you guys, I hope you all saw the video that Wanjiru recorded on the case. So you will have seen a back of the napkin brand strategy and a brand thinking canvas on Farewell. And we thought we would start the conversation today with you by asking you, do you think, is there something that you can learn from Farewell? And if so, what would that be for you? So I will share a link to the Miro board on which we will be doing our exercises later. I'll just share it in the chat. But here you can also look at the top of this board, you will also find that the brand strategy on a napkin, and you'll find the case study in case you just want to zoom in and look at all the particular parts. Great. So just a quick check, maybe if you can, if you did not see the Farival case study, can you just quickly indicate that in chat so we get an idea of how many of you know what we're going to be talking about? Because if there's a substantial amount of people who haven't seen it, then we might have to give it a little bit more of an introduction. If I don't see any no's, that means that everyone did their homework, which is amazing. Okay, cool, great, great, great. Let me see, Yazem, if you're able to join the conversation. Did you think that there was something that you could learn from the Farival case study? Was it relevant for your work?
I think that we could learn from them the simplicity of presenting of their brand and product, and that's really amazing, I think.
Yeah, yeah. So that, I think you're hitting the nail on the head. So simplicity is one of the most important things I think that a brand can help you achieve. And when brands are really complex and when there's a lot of different messages and a lot of different call to actions, like different things that people need to do, it becomes harder and harder for people to pull you out of that mental archive and understand what you stand for exactly. One of the things that we find during our courses is that simplicity is easy to talk about, but hard to achieve. So making things simple is really hard, and it's kind of like an editorial process where you start with a long letter to your loved one and you have to edit it down. And as you build your brand and you get better and better at understanding what you do and understanding your audience, you'll be able to help that process. So simplicity, yeah, absolutely. Is there anyone else who had a thought while looking at Farival, like, hey, this is something that we could learn from what Farival does? Or like, oh, this is something they're not good at and actually want to avoid that. That's also very welcome.
Hi, my name is Mikola. I'm from Clarity App. I want to say that they are brave enough to talk about such a sensitive topic. And also I want to say that we've had a similar idea a couple of years ago, but we've had some legal limitations in our country about will, because only notaries can sign them and they can do it online. So we've stopped thinking about it, and now I see this great example that it can really work in our world. So thank you for this example.
Oh, good. Yeah, good. So yeah, I imagine that the legal systems in every country and the ability to bring things online are different, of course. This idea of the brave topic and making things like addressing such a complex issue as death, I think is a really good example of the role that brand can play. So I think a very big part of the brand for Farival is that they make death something that you can talk about. And that is both from an impact perspective and a societal perspective important, but it's also important from the perspective that you want people to feel comfortable to reach out to you, right? So this is often an issue when we look at products in the justice space or things that, for instance, services that have to do with sexual health or crimes in the domestic violence. Like, you need to be accessible and people need to be able to relate to the topic. Yeah, brave, to be brave about a topic and making it discussable, I think is really a great lesson from Farewell. Is there anyone who noticed anything about how they kind of relate to their users or their customers? So one of the things that I think we really, one of the main reasons why we choose Farewell is that they did really good research into what are all the barriers that, and what are the emotions and what are the beliefs that people hold that are going to hold them back from engaging with our product and service. So the fact that they put that friendly face on, but also that they really speak the language of the audience is something that needs to grow over time. Like you need to learn, how can I best talk to people about this? Yeah, I think this is when we look at cohorts at Hill and everywhere else, like if you're in an early stage and you're still developing your brand, it's often quite a switch to go from, like, let's say you're expert speak, so you know all about the situation, you know all about your product, but now building that bridge towards your audience. Yeah, I'm curious if we can use some examples from all of the businesses that you guys are building today to find out more ways to make your brand really clear and understandable for your audiences. Is there anyone here who feels like, yeah, you know, we could definitely do a better job at you know, speaking the language of our audience? I'd love to hear from you if that's the case. Then we can keep an eye out during the session that we support you in. No one? Everyone feels like they're speaking a clear. Veronique. Yep. Cool. So for those of you who feel like, yeah, this is important to us, we'll also share a couple of tips at the end of the second session about like how can you test your brand and whether it's clear. If you think, no, we are clear and everything is fine, it's still worth doing a test because you would be surprised how people interpret messaging around brands. And in that case, also like bear with us while we get you through that information on testing. So we'll provide you with a little test script. You can put one of your brand assets, so either a website or a communication item in front of people, and we'll give you a number of questions that you can ask to see where some of the confusion might lie. Cool. Wenju, have I missed any lessons learned on Farewell? Because you're the expert on the case.
No, I think for me, the best lesson learned from the Farewell case is how they're able to bring this topic of death out of the taboo. And so their brand identity, as well as visual and verbal, helps them simplify the brand and also talk about death in a way that's relatable and not dismissive of the sensitive topic of death.
Yeah, that's actually, you're reminding me, and maybe we can share the 2 links in the chat. We have, just to give you all an idea of how this understanding of how you can communicate as a brand and how your visual and your verbal identity might evolve. We have 2 examples of videos made for Farewell. And what you'll see is there's quite a difference in the tone and the visual identity. And there's an earlier version that's quite posh and polite. And then there's a later version that is more, let's say, working class and a little bit more in your face and on price. And you can see that over time, Farewell is kind of learning, like, okay, how do we really speak the language of every single British person? And how do we really show this effort to democratize the death space? So we'll make sure to share that with you, because I think it's a really nice little detective exercise of like, okay, what are the things I've been tweaking over the years? Cool. So if you've not yet landed on the Miro board, I hope that Miro works for everyone. I'm going to share it here again. We want to ask you to work with us on a group exercise for a back of the napkin brand strategy. So if you're having issues getting onto Miro, just leave them here in the chat. Wenjira will be able to help me with that as well. So let me share my screen so that you can follow along with me. Here we go. So I'll bring all of you who are on the board to me so that you can see what I'm seeing. Great. Okay. Yeah, so the reason why we developed this back of the napkin brand strategy is we wanted people to have a really good understanding of what is actually the role of brand in helping me to achieve the change that I want to see. So let's look at the example of Faribault again, just as a refresher. So what they want to see is kind of their vision for the future, their impact. They want the process surrounding death to be easier, friendlier, and cheaper. And the vehicle that they've chosen for that is affordable online wills, probates, and cremations. And what's quite helpful is then to think about like, okay, what would success actually look like for us? So in the case of Faribault, which is a UK-based brand, let me turn off the, so you can see the screen without the cursors. So they want millions of everyday Brits who have no will because it's expensive or confusing to have created one through Faribault. So that already tells us something about, let's say, the market and the volume of clients and what the action is that they want people to take. And then we ask ourselves like, hey, how could brand help to achieve this? So in this case, Faribault makes the Faribault brand makes the process of making the will look really easy, quick, and affordable, something that we can all do. There's that other topic about making death the topic we can all talk about. So those are two aspects that brand is really important in achieving the impact. Then we look at, well, what are the things that Faribault, that if we kind of think of ourselves as the Faribault team, what are things that we can leverage? So a brand works best if you actually think about like, oh, what are things that are happening within our team? What are things that are happening in the wider culture? What are our strengths and what's the competition doing? And how can we make the most of that? So for the team, the Faribault people are really friendly and they love to make things easier. So these are the type of people that, for instance, would spend time helping other people put IKEA furniture together, or help other people solve complex math issues for their homework. So that's just the kind of people that they are. So that's an interesting team culture to work with. Then there's a wider culture, which is that people are used to doing things online more. There's more trust and it's considered effective. So it's the right time to launch a quite sensitive topic like this online, which 10 years ago would have been probably unthinkable. So the strength of Faribault is that they're the first to disrupt that market. So if they really set the right tone of friendliness and quality, they could really have a huge advantage. There have been other small players who've tried to pull this off, but they always remained more like local volunteer community projects. And so they could really make a big, get a big market share. And what's really important also, I think, from the competition point of view, is that all these conventional notaries and conventional lawyers are super stuffy, they look inaccessible, and they do look trustworthy, but that also makes them look expensive. That's a massive thing for you as a company to leverage. So if everyone else looks expensive and stuffy and boring, then that's a major sign that you can do something through brand. So the way that we would summarize the Farival brand strategy in one sentence is that we get everyday Brits to feel that Farival is the best choice for arranging their death-related affairs. It's easy, it's friendly, it's quick and affordable. Everything basically the competition isn't. So we want all of you to use this napkin model to think about the role that your brand can play in making the change happen that you want to see in the world. So we're going to do a 30-minute exercise, and we can split up in groups. So if you have colleagues from your team who are joining, we can put you in a breakout room. We can also use this time to work together. And while we do that, I am available for any questions that you run into. I'm also happy to work with one of you on an example during this time, and everyone can listen in. Or you can, if you find it disruptive, you just turn the volume down a little bit while you work on your own napkin. And then we'll select several napkins to discuss and see how we're doing. Does that sound like Hi everyone, just let me know if you're back with us after the exercise, so I know that I'm talking to people and they can hear me. Give me a sign in the chat if you're with us, please. Fantastic. Okay, we have Moshami, we have Kusuma. Great. Okay, so I'm just going to take a look at some of the work that you guys have been doing. For some reason, my internet is not able to load me row, so Wanjiru is going to share her screen on the board. If Nadine, you can make that possible. David and Lillian are here. Perfect. Lovely to see all your cursors swarming across the screen. Wanjiru, could we zoom into, I'm going to probably pronounce it the wrong way, UPSI, team 2. Am I pronouncing that correct, by the way, team 2?
It's Upesi. Upesi.
Upesi. Okay. Hi, Eric. Hi, Eric. Cool. Okay. Yeah, let's zoom in on the notes here. Okay. Wonderful. Okay, great. So what I usually do is we look at themes in people's work that we see in other people's work, so that we're able to help, hopefully by discussing one example, help all of you with new ideas. So let's see. So Eric, the difference, the impact that you want to make on the world is you want to have people to have a peace of mind by creating safer neighborhoods for all. You're going to do that by through a platform for accessing reliable emergency services, and success will look like millions of people using the platform. That's all great. Now let's move down a little bit to how brand can help. And I noticed, so you have here, make the process of accessing emergency services extremely convenient, simple, and affordable for all. Make it okay for everyone to feel free sharing information on safety within their neighborhoods with authorities. Make people feel okay in participating in engagements that will make their neighborhoods safer. Perfect, yeah. So what I was thinking when I saw this note, I was thinking, can we summarize some of these things into, let's say, one or two aspects that are really important here. So for instance, you could say, Is it about, if we want millions of people to pick it up, is it about the fact that we want people to think, for instance, hey, the investment in an emergency service platform is actually a basic necessity or makes common sense? Or is it that we want people to trust, to build trust in this platform and trust amongst each other? That's first and foremost what I read. So see if you can kind of find the
Did Anne freeze for everyone else, or is it just me?
Yes, she froze.
Yeah, she's frozen.
Yeah. So Wanjiro, maybe you could take over while I guess she would need to reconnect. I just think you need to unmute.
Oh yeah, sorry about that. So on how brand can help, I'm not quite sure where her last thought was headed. So I'm just going to pick up on something else and then move forward. And then when she's back, then she can finish the thought she had. And so for Upesi, how brand can help their process, making the process of accessing emergency services extremely convenient, simple and affordable. So I think what Anne was saying is to try and simplify this and have it be a bit more direct. Oh, and you're back.
Yes, I'm loving the fact that you were able to jump in now. Sorry about that. We seem to have the internet, the gods of the internet are not working with us today. I should make a little offering. Cool, yeah. So let me see. So all emergent, your strengths are that all emergency services and best providers are on one platform. So better understanding of the target market. Oh, that's a really interesting insight. So you're able to pull everyone together, right? Existing solutions are expensive and available to only a few people. Yeah. Okay, these are all definitely things that I experience in Kenya. Do you have the same one, Drew? So from a consumer perspective, I can already feel this, definitely. Great.
Yeah.
When can we, and let's go down to the one sentence strategy. Down on the screen a little bit, yeah. Get every person to have peace of mind when they have the app on their phones, wherever they are, any time of the day. Okay. So I would like to encourage everyone, when you're thinking about the brand strategy in that one sentence, this is a really good way to structure it like we've done for Farewell. So get a certain person to feel X, Y, Z by positioning us as this, that, and the other. So in this case, Eric, what I think we could do is get a little bit more specific. So every person is always a really big group. So in the case of Farewell, that's also how we described it, because it's really about like everyday Britons. But for instance, they have experienced that their biggest audience, for instance, is parents, people between 30 and 50. So if you want to get more specific, you're also welcome to do that. So for instance, like whether it's concerned head of households or people in a certain type of neighborhood, you might find some interesting bits and pieces there. And I think what I'm taking away from this is that the role of the brand is to give people trust. This is going to work, and this is going to work for me. Now the next step for our next exercise, when you start building your brand, it's all about, hey, how can we convey the sense of trust and success through this platform? That's really helpful. Can we zoom? I don't know if any of this it's very little feedback, Eric, but it's just it's nice to read through your example and see how quickly you were able to put that together.
Yeah, it's very valuable. I really appreciate it. We'll refine on it. Cool, great. Vindex, let's look at Vindex, Team Vindex. So what I really enjoyed about this idea of this GPS tracker is, and now this kind of thought went through my mind as I was looking at your impact and the vehicle and what success would look like, is that you'd almost want like the role of the brand. So when we look at number 4 on the napkin, we'd almost want this brand to help motors to kind of place this thought in the head of motorcycle owners that a GPS tracking device is should just as much be part of your motorcycle gear as your helmet. So how can we help people to see that as part of, the basic common sense investment is to have this device, because it's paying for itself by ensuring that you won't lose your motorcycle once it's stolen. So what I'm thinking about what you could leverage, so I'm seeing in the culture, you're seeing increasing number of motorcycles, wide uses of mobile phones, the competition, they don't track, off-the-shelf solutions don't fit. Yeah, that's a really interesting one. So there's not good local solutions. So I wonder if you could leverage this idea, like, a smart Kenyan motorcycle driver looks like this. This is someone who has the Vindex GPS tracker. I wonder if that's something that you could build into it so that people understand this is really tailored. So in the same way that brands like Afriîkanə manage to leverage some kind of sense of local pride, I wonder if you could do that too. If you're seeing that the competition is not really that is not a good fit for the market.
Yes, that's something that we could use.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I think there's a really cool. Sorry?
Yeah. I also love the statement that you said on how the brand can help in just ensuring every rider sees the GPS tracker something as necessary as their helmet.
Yeah.
So thanks for that thought.
Yeah. There was in our next session, when we're going to look at the brand thinking canvas, we're going to also think about, like, hey, how could you bring this brand to life and give it shape? And I was already thinking that for a device like this, like having let's say famous Kenyan motorcyclists, so whether those are from the motorcycle clubs, or I know there's that really
cool group of ladies on motorcycles. There's a couple of activists that I know are quite active with their motorcycle. I wonder if they can act as brand ambassadors, and then you kind of connect also that sense of like, you know, Kenyan pride to this idea that, you know, a sensible driver has this tracker as part of their kind of equipment. Very, very cool. Is this also a product that you're going to market B2B? So for instance, to, I don't know, would there be a market like through the Ubers and such, or
Yes.
Sacos?
Yes, we market it both at the user level, that's B2C, and also B2B to other businesses who, you know, who own many units and would also like to not only track but to also have a way to manage their assets. Yes.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I can imagine that's a huge win. We have somewhere in our 100 brands for change deck, Wenju, I think we have that example of a brand, a B2B brand that markets the technology that your business fans don't bump into other obstacles and cause damage. And maybe we can look it up and share that with Eric. There might be something to learn from that brand as well. From the B2B perspective. I know a lot of the examples that we often use in brand are very B2C, like consumer focused, but there's definitely a difference between kind of, you know, how you talk to consumers and how you talk to those businesses. And it might be interesting to see a B2B brand as well. Lovely. Thanks for sharing this, Chris. Anyone else would like me to take a look at their napkin? It feels that there's maybe because you're stuck, or you'd just like an extra pair of eyes.
Yep, Lego design team says they're ready.
Okay, legal design. Let's go. Let's see what you guys have been doing. And Binayati after. Yep. Maybe we should scroll into it. Here we go, legal design. Oh, wonderful. Yeah. Okay. So make understandable documents for Ukrainian citizens. That's good. One of the things that can be helpful sometimes when you're thinking about impact is
She froze again, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, she's frozen again. Okay. So I think we can take a look at legal design. So they want to make understandable documents for Ukrainian citizens, and their vehicle for change is going to be fast reading forms for legal documents with messenger bots. And success for them is thousands of Ukrainian citizens using their bots to draw up contracts that are simple without legal aid. This draws a little bit and is close to fair will, if I'm not wrong, in terms of using technology to make legal services accessible. So how brand can help is simply interface and simplify the interface and procedure of legal contracts, and they want to leverage their teammates, the team, as well as strong person freedom for expert expertise. Okay, so in terms of how brand can help, the thing that comes to mind is, what does a simple interface look like? So when you say simplifying the interface, so what does that look like? And what does that mean for the Ukrainian citizens? So is this part in terms of how do you draw them in? How does the visual identity or how you communicate draw in Ukrainian citizens?
I'm thinking now. Yes, she's back. Hi,
Hello.
Manjiro.
Hi. I think we're all having a bit of trouble with our internet, and I hope it's not a countrywide thing. Sometimes it just happens. So I was speaking on point number 4, I think, before I disappeared, and I was asking the legal design team, what does a simplified interface mean for your audiences? So when you say you want to simplify the interface and procedure of legal contracts, how does this tie into your audiences, and how does that draw them in? How does that make them want to choose you as their team, and how do they want to interact with you, and how does that affect their lives in terms of legal contracts? And you're back.
Maybe I don't
yeah.
finally understand what you ask. Of course, simplified interface, it's really easy for understanding. Of course, in our country there are no automatic solution for take any legal contract. It's not matter it's internet provider or domestic contracts. There are no solution for now. Absolutely. So it's zero niche. And simplify, of course, we use bots as a main interface. And if you use Telegram, Instagram, or WhatsApp, I guess you understanding what this means. Simplify is 3 buttons, text messaging, and all is done.
Yeah, so I think, Oleg, I think what Drew is trying to get at is what you're describing on this page mostly has to do with the product or the service itself. So you simplify the interface and procedure of legal contracts. That's what the service does, but it's not how the brand can help get this service into the hands of as many people as possible. So what, for instance, when we're thinking about, okay, we want people to understand, let's say we want thousands of Ukrainian citizens to drop contracts that are simple without legal aid. We think that, for instance, brand could help to make citizens understand that legal, clear legal contracts will help them avoid, I don't know what problems that avoids, but does that mean, like, you know, better, you're in a better situation when you get divorced? Or is it about, I don't know, there's no fights in your family because the will has been contracted clearly? Or is it about employment contracts? So how can you help see the audience, basically help the audience see the problem through their own eyes? So clearly you believe that the complexity of contracts currently is causing a lot of issues for people. And how can you turn that, how can you turn that around in their heads? So helping them understand, like, hey, I have, I'm about to draw up a contract for, I don't know, a team member, or I need to make a prenup with my husband. And this company is going to help me make that easier and understandable. Yeah, what kind of brand would help them to think and feel about you in that way?
I don't understand, because we just talking for simplifying is a technical solution, and for people who at the moment they don't have any technical opportunities. They need go to the law, or maybe go to the Google and find one of the contract and changing its words and word on Adobe Acrobat, and all is done. But it's not working. They don't know law. They even don't know where to find this. We want to provide a service where it's our brand. It's simplifying really in one chat. They go with our bot. They tap to start speaking with this bot, and they drop the list of ready. They're all done ready. They need only to tag their first name, last name, some few datas, and all is done. It's like a template that fill with customers' data. So
yeah. So I'm 100% hearing what you're saying. I think we probably have just a misunderstanding of like what we're talking about in terms of what's the role of the product and what's the role of the brand. And one of the things that you just mentioned gave me a good clue, which was like people don't even know that, you know, there's a solution for this, that legal stuff could be simpler. So is one of the roles of brand to actually make people aware that all their legal agreements, like that pain could be removed for them by your service. So there's what I mean to say is there's a difference between what the product does and how the brand can help get that product in the hands of as many people as
our brand, it's a product. Our brand, it's a technical solution. It's like a title for board.
Yeah, so, I understand. But what we talk about when we talk about brand is we don't talk about product. So we look at brand as like the reputation and kind of, you know, the image that people have of your product and service. So not the product and service itself.
We can product save as another slot, because legal design is a board. So legal design, it's a title of product, and this technical solution, it's a brand. It's our main goal to be in the legal design. It's an easy board. So interface, it's not only product interface, it's a brand solution. It's a brand idea that legal design don't need any people. That legal design is a brand, and legal design it's technical, and it's a bot. It's one of our strategy to be in this title for this.
Yeah. So what I mean to say is that what perception do people need to have? So that is simplification is, of course, like that's the technical thing, but could we so maybe for you that's the answer. So for instance, if we look at Farewell, we said like, well, the role that brand has is they make the process of making a will look easy, quick, and affordable. So obviously your bot is doing that work, and the brand, in the case of the brand, then the brand needs to make that simplification look really clear. So maybe what we can look at in the next session when we start thinking about the brand from the Canvas perspective is like, okay, what does simplicity in the legal space look like? I think that would be
I guess
really
it's
nice.
It's a national mindset, because in Ukrainian it's really hard. It's every time hard when you work with the legal. So when you say as a brand it's a simple, it's enough for our people.
Okay, cool. But it's certainly, I mean, a simpler legal space certainly is what I think many of us could really use. So yeah, let's see how we can bring that to life. I think that's really a nice challenge. Let's see, we had someone else, Biniati, David. Let's look at your exercise, and then I think that'll be the last one that we'll look at specifically. And if you like, we can also look at the board in the next 2 weeks and give you some feedback and notes there. So if there's anyone who hasn't had a chance yet, just let us know in the chat and we'll make sure to give you some feedback on this board. Okay, team 7. David.
Yes.
Hi.
Hi. Hi again.
Let's see. So the impact that you want to have, the management of common tasks in a building to be more easier, less time consuming, cheaper and accessible for everyone. And the vehicle is an online solution. Can you explain to me a little bit more what management of common tasks in a building we're talking about?
It's a building management, management for common expenses and collection of money and rules between regulations between tenants and neighbors. So all the management of common in a building. Accounting wise and management wise.
Okay.
Accounting wise, it was used to be as an Excel file or a company management company. Now it's an online solution.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess if I would look at what success looks like, so of course success for you would look like thousands of buildings would be managed by Binayati. So from the user perspective, I guess that thousands of people would make it almost effortless to manage those buildings. So I think that makes sense. So how brand can help? So I think here it's a little bit the same question or the same feedback as with the previous.
Yes.
So the solution itself makes the management easy, but how can the brand help? For instance, I can imagine that for certain consumers and building managers, they would want to see kind of like have proof out the solution. So we could say, for instance, well, the brand proves to different stakeholders around building management that building management could be more effortless. So that when you use a word like prove, that already that's also related to trust. So building trust or building proof, I think, is often a really important role of brands. Let's see. I like the fact that there's practically no direct competition. So conventional competitor is the Excel file. Yeah,
yes.
I really like that. So in a way, you're a first mover. So we had a participant a couple of years ago here in Kenya in the water space, and he had this idea that for an app that could measure when your water was running low, so that the water guys could come earlier to fill up your tank. And he created a brand that was that was a tech brand, but it was positioned as like a friendly water delivery service. And I wonder, for instance, if Binayati will be more of a, let's say, the friendly, super effective, almost like, you know, your building manager with 8 arms who takes all the work away from you, or is it more of a B2B service for managers? So there's something about the fact that your market is still entirely open that would give you a couple of different directions where you could take the personality of the brand. So the brand strategy in one sentence in that case, for instance, could be, let's say, get apartment owners or building owners to feel that Binayati is their best route to taking the pain out of building management by positioning us as a easy to use, friendly, effective building management app. I'm just doing it straight off the cuff, but so understanding who it's for. So get this particular group of people. Is it homeowners? Is it the managers? Is it all of them? Like bring that audience in. and the feeling that they need to have about you. And yeah, then you'll have a little bit more direction for the next stage of the work, if that makes sense.
We have many audiences. We have, it could be for managers, it could be for any tenant, it could be for anyone living in a city, it could be for property manager company. So we have different audiences, and for each one, it should have a sentence, a brand strategy, a brand sentence for everyone, for every audience.
No, so we would recommend that you have one brand strategy. So your Biniati needs to be recognized as the software that makes building management effortless, for instance. And it's recognized as that by lots of different groups. And then for those different groups, you can have different communication channels, or you could have different messaging around it.
Yes,
but the brand needs to be the
unique
umbrella that serves all of them at this moment. Yeah.
Yes.
Not in every case. So in some cases, I definitely think we, for instance, say like, okay, this brand is going to focus on consumers specifically, or the brand is going to focus on business partners. But I think in your case, it makes sense that that you cater to those different audiences with one brand. What we want to avoid for all of you is that you don't try and play chess on 6 different chessboards. So you want to create a brand that is able to catch all of your different audiences in the best possible way, and not to cater to audiences that don't matter to the brand. And we can talk about that a little bit more in the next session, where we'll run into that probably. Okay. Cool. Thanks for sharing all of this. I hope this gave you a little bit of an idea of how brand might be able to help you get to the world that you want to see. I just wanted to do a quick intro to the assignment that we'll ask you to do for next week. So we're going to create, you're going, Amer, you have a hand up.
Yes, sorry for interrupting, but I wanted also to participate with my contribution to the napkin brand strategy. So, so if you please go ahead and finish what you're saying, and I'll carry on with answering your questions.
Do you want us to take a quick look at your napkin? Is that what you're asking?
Yes. Yes, please.
Okay, let's do that. Let's do that quickly before we move on.
Sorry.
And my Jew is looking for it as we speak. Yeah. So tell me, Amer, where do you feel like you could use some feedback?
So, so basically, what we're doing is that we're automating legal consultancy through a program. So we're trying to replace the role of the lawyer through an automated program that asks a question, and based on the results of those questions, they eliminate certain options, and then they cater the user with a report. Based on that report, it identifies if they're eligible under the for compensation under employment law, and the amount of compensation they're entitled to for each right that has been violated. So I think from our side, it's very important to brand ourselves as a legal technology that actually is trying to replace the role of the lawyer. It's too far, but we're trying to do it. And we're currently conducting our marketing campaigns, but until now we haven't identified our brand identity. How should we present ourselves in front of clients or users online?
Yeah. Can you just scroll down a little, Wanjiru?
Scroll down.
Yeah. Perfect.
I just did it quickly. I was in court. I was stuck in court.
Okay, so I think what probably in this case, I think what people, I'm just gonna think out loud. So I think what you want to achieve is that when people see that there might, like they have a conflict with their boss or they might get fired, is that they think of pushing a button on an app that is going to help them get some sort of legal advice about their rights and what they're entitled to. Is that correct?
Yes, well, it's correct. We what we try to do is we want to, based on statistics, 80% of employees are deprived of their basic rights. So, and given that employment law they provide excellent protection for employees against violation of rights, but people do not know of their rights, and therefore they do not enforce it. So what we tell people through our checkers, go ahead, use our checker and check if you're available, if you're eligible for compensation. And based on that, they'll have this aha moment. Yes, I'm entitled to certain compensation. And based on that, we connect them to those attorneys.
Yeah, yeah. So I think so for me, the role of brand is to make people aware of their legal options through an app. So let me think. I'm trying to think if I have a good example of something from another industry.
I can give you an example of some similar industry. It's very famous now in Europe. It's a website which goes by the name of AirHelp. So it actually informs people who have disrupted flights or canceled flights or delayed flights that they are entitled to certain compensation according to a regulation by the European Commission. And therefore they put their itinerary and certain departure dates and all of that, and they conduct a background check with all the data that is available online, and they tell them, yes, you are eligible for this amount based on the amount of based on the right that has been violated. So we're very similar to what they do. So they sell awareness.
Yeah, that's a really helpful analogy, actually. Yeah. So I think using this idea of like when you're in trouble, you push a red button. So if maybe the way that I would phrase it is brand can help to establish the product as kind of the emergency button you push on your phone whenever you have the impression that your rights at work are being compromised.
Exactly. So it's accessible. So it's access to justice quickly, swiftly, and efficiently without the need to find and look for a lawyer and ask your colleagues or friends and family who is the best lawyer I should go to. Yeah,
exactly. So it's that kind of at the touch of a button feeling. Yeah. So brand, I think how brand can help is to establish you as a kind of legal help at the push of a button. And then if you're thinking about brand strategy in one sentence, so I wonder if you can phrase it something like get people concerned about their rights at work to see us or to feel that we are the quickest way to avoid losing their jobs or to get compensation or whatever it is that they achieve through the app, by positioning us as like that one push button, one stop solution or
So we actually
it's interesting to think about, like, is this in emergency situations or like very direct situations, or is it more in like a longer drawn out process?
So
If it's
it
always
falls
like,
within,
hey,
yeah, it falls within a variety of situations. So either they're still at work, but they want to just know what they're entitled to, or they have been
yeah,
dismissed and they want to know what they're entitled to, or they, you know, it's either they have been fired or before getting fired or before quitting their job, to know if this is the right time to quit their job, or
yeah,
they have been treated unfairly, and they want to check if this is the kind of treatment that they can quit and actually request compensation for unfair dismissal.
yeah. So I think you have something very powerful there, which is, and I think that probably goes for a lot of people in this cohort, which is there's a specific moment where your product and service is very valuable. And yesterday when Jiro and I were doing a class where it's a very different industry, but there was someone with a beverage, and we compared it to, like, for instance, the orange juice producers of this world have worked really long and hard to make people believe that you have orange juice with breakfast in the morning. And that creates an incredibly big market for them, because everyone thinks breakfast goes with orange juice. And we had a client that was a coconut water company, and they said, oh, for us, actually, it's a really interesting market to be the breakfast beverage, because now people only use it when they go to yoga, and that's not often enough. We want the whole family to be drinking coconut water in the morning and be much better. And I think what you're describing also feels like, hey, there are these moments in your career where you are exactly well positioned to use this product. And can you capitalize on owning those moments? So whenever, like, you know, boss touches you inappropriately, or boss fires you, or boss, these are all triggers that now we need to push the button. So I think that's a really, amazing benefit that you could leverage.
Amazing.
I'm running a little over time, Nadine.
I was just going to step in
thank you
and
very
say if it's okay, but this was very interesting also to go over Aidil's case. But if we could move over to the assignments, and if our participants could stay with us for 5 more minutes while Anne goes through the assignments, and then I just go through a couple of final things, that would be great. Thanks.
Perfect. Yeah, Wanjiru, if we can go up to the farewell canvas. Okay, so we're for the next session. So hopefully you have this idea of like how brand can help you to achieve the impact that you want to see. And so that is your strategy. So that's kind of your, like, how we're currently here, we want to go there, and this is how brand can help us. And now you want to give body to the brand. Now you might already have a name, you might already have colors, logo, you might already have a website, but what we want to ask you is to keep an open mind and to think about, when I now look at the brand strategy that I've just set, what does, like, how should our brand manifest itself in order to make that happen? And then you can always compare notes to, like, okay, what is the brand currently, but really think outside of the box. So if you want to have another look at the farewell case video and at this board to see how the farewell brand has been built, the way that we're going to ask you to work is in the next 2 weeks, or before our next session, is to work on this first canvas. So that's the Who Are You canvas. To start all the way at the middle, you're going to see a prompt to start with the brand essence. That's basically your impact or your purpose. So you've already done some work on that, on the strategy work. You're going to think about articulating the vision and the mission in such a way that people can really get inspired and get behind it. We're going to talk about, you're going to define like brand promises, which is basically the vows that you, as if it's a wedding vow, like these are the things that I promise to deliver to my audience. And then when you look at all those elements and you keep your brand strategy in mind, now, how does that translate to the visual and verbal identity? So don't think about like, what do we already have, but what is, for instance, the best way for us, if you're thinking, for instance, about like, hey, we want to claim a moment in someone's career that they know, oh, alarm bell rings, this is when I need the product. How are we going to show them that for all those emergency moments, we're going to be there? So how do we show that in the language that we use, and how do we show that in visuals, for instance, so that you really start brainstorming from that perspective. And then how does that kind of the core of that brand, how does that translate? So where do you need to be seen? What kind of communication and what kind of channels will you choose? And not just like, oh, we'll use Twitter, we'll use Facebook. We know those channels exist, but what will you do with those channels to, again, build on that perception that you need people to have in order to come on board? So hopefully you'll be able to have some fun with this campus. It's supposed to be a brainstorming activity. So if you want to bring your entire team on board for that, feel free to do so, because that's really also where some of the creativity starts. If there are any questions in the next 2 weeks, if something isn't working for you on the board, you can get in touch with Nadine and she'll get us involved. Thanks.
Yep. Thank you, Anne. Thanks a lot. I hope this was useful to everyone. I know that even though I'm not part of the cohort, this was already quite insightful for me. So before we log out of the call, I just want to share my screen for a minute, because I've been getting some questions about where one can find the recordings of the session. And I just want to make sure that this is kind of clear to everyone. So if you can see my screen now, this is what your work pilot landing page looks like, and you can either click here on the accelerator program course, or you can also find it from the library. Sometimes I find it's easier if you go to the library and then click on modules, and you'll be able to see all of these different topics that we have covered. So for instance, with branding, here is where you already have the 2 videos that by now you've all watched in preparation for this session. I've also already gone ahead and started by adding the link to the digital whiteboard, and also the link to the form. It's embedded in your Branding 1 module, the feedback form. I also pasted the link to the feedback form in the chat. So I'm still on the call for 2 to 3 minutes. I highly encourage you to stay on, fill in the form. I think you're used to this. It doesn't usually take more than 2 minutes of your time while I play some music. And other than that, you have a break from us next week, but we will see you in 2 weeks' time. And as Anne said, if you have any questions for her or for Wanjiro, let me know and I'll pass it on to them. Thank you.
Bye, guys. Good luck with everything. Hope to see you in 2 weeks.
Thanks, Anne.
Thanks, Anne.
Nice meeting you all, and see you next week.
Thanks, bye.
Mama,